Unfortunately, all was as Hijikata had foretold. It felt like a cruel joke, one that crushed us when our hope had already fallen into short supply. In the day following Hijikata's departure, the sound of the first gunshot echoed in the battlefield. The offender, to no one's surprise, was a recent recruit of ours who pulled the trigger haphazardly. And, just like in the Battle of Toba-Fushimi, all it took was an accidental gunshot to incite a horrific bloodbath before our very eyes. Thus began the Battle of Koshu Katsunuma. The Shinsengumi men were thrust into chaos, knowingly facing an opponent who was better suited in almost every facet to fight for the control of Kofu Castle. Hidden throughout the surrounding forest were battalions of Imperial forces, arming their cannons and firing them into our approaching soldiers. Gunpowder filled the air all around Katsunuma, stinging our eyes and nostrils. A region in which the Shinsengumi set up an encampment in preparation for their attack on Kofu. Later on, it was the site of the Battle of Koshu Katsunuma. It became a land of ash and blood.
What's the status of our troops? There's just too many Imperials, sir. Our captains are desperately pushing them at the front lines, but I think it's only a matter of time, sir. Damn it! Toshi gave us more than ample time to prepare. How the hell could we not have been ready to take this thing?
From Yamazaki's assessment, the Imperial Army had successfully seized total control of Kofu Castle. On the flip side, we possessed neither the arsenal nor the strategy to penetrate such a vast fortress. Saito and Nagakura, from what we'd heard, were fighting tooth and nail to keep up the pressure, but every other report making its way back to our home base carried devastating news, keeping morale low.
Chief! Things aren't looking too hot. They've broken through the lines to the right of our camp, and enemy forces are marching here as we speak.
We've got no choice then. Alright, men, draw your swords. When I give the signal, you kill every goddamn enemy you see.
Kondo, no! If the Imperials are armed with rifles, then sending our men with swords won't do anything. Please, we must retreat.
But...
Even with my plea, Kondo was motioning forward, beckoning his men with reckless aplomb. My voice went hoarse trying to convince them otherwise. Yamazaki scanned our perimeter, thinning his eyes before taking a pronounced step forward.
Nomura, how many men are marching towards us?
Huh? From our vantage point, I can make out 20 or so, sir.
20, eh? That shouldn't pose a problem. Leave that troop to me. Soma and Nomura, promise me you'll protect the chief, and retreat at the first opportunity.
Don't tell me you plan on going alone.
Someone needs to guard the rear, or they will gain on us in a pursuit. Besides, the sun is already set, so the tide is currently in my favor. I'll manage.
After leaving us with a curt nod, Yamazaki leapt up a nearby tree trunk, dashing through adjacent branches and disappearing into the dense wooded forest. Dang. For a brief moment, my mouth was agape from awe. Then I snapped out of it, facing Kondo again. Soma, Nomura, please take this brief reprieve and get Kondo out of here.
I guess we could, but what about you, Miss Yukimura?
I'm staying behind to watch over Yamazaki, and then I'll catch up with the rest of you. Please, there's no time! Hurry! Chizuru so brave. I saw them off, making sure they were out of sight before darting away. I hid behind a thick shrub, peeking just over the top to watch a crowd of Imperial soldiers marching on.
Fall in line, men! We've snuffed out their main troop! Keep shooting! Fire at will! No survivors!
They advanced, slowly but surely. The increasing pace of their steps fell into an uneasy rhythm with my accelerating heartbeat. I grew nervous, wondering where Yamazaki had been. With an upward glance, I held my breath, hoping to find him perched on some branch. Just then.
Huh, it's a new age, boys. Swords are just a thing of the past. All we gotta do is fire off our gun.
There he is.
Gah!
The Imperial soldier never finished his sentence, which was punctuated by a blood-gurgling cry. A strong breeze came from the east, and with it flew the soldier's head high into the air. Dang.
Huh? Gah!
Before I could blink, another soldier spewed blood from a fresh slit sliced across his exposed neck.
What the hell? Where'd that come from? Just what the hell's going... Ah! Enemy attack! We're being attacked! Get into formation! Don't allow any openings! Damn it! Who's out there? It's not fair to pick us off! Show yourself!
Why are you scared? You just got a sword. You got big guns, guys.
Not fair, you said. You, of all people, will lay claim to that. You, who have slain my comrades and laid waste to my kin, complaining about what is fair or just.
Terror covered the face of every soldier in the Imperial troop, and Yamazaki pulled their strings with a bellow of his fearsome voice. From afar, I had the perfect view of him, though he was hiding in plain sight. The glow of Yamazaki's crimson eyes radiated sharply as he sat perched on a branch above the soldiers. I just realized he's in fury mode. The sight alone was enough to send chills crawling down my spine. Yamazaki blended into the forest on command, nimbly slashing at the soldiers' necks before piercing their hearts, tearing their flesh asunder with steel. One by one, the blood-soaked bodies of the Imperial soldiers hit the ground with a resounding thud. Every time my eyes caught sight of Yamazaki, he was followed by a ribbon of cascading blood gushing from his fallen foes. I stared in abject horror, curling my toes every time one of them would utter a ghastly shriek. Suddenly, a Shinsengumi warrior emerged beside the fray, clutching his hand tightly over his chest before collapsing on the ground in front of me. Hey! Can you hear me? I'm an ally. I'm here to help. Can you recognize me? Oh no. You're not looking well. We need to get you to safety. Yamazaki!
Right. I'll leave him to you. I will subdue the rest of them. Get away while you can.
Huh?
You are best suited for the procedure. Only with your help can he stand any chance of living.
Yamazaki spoke dismissively, not even bothering to turn and face me while he spoke. There's kinda enemies around, girl. Instead, he fixed his hateful glare upon the corpses of his enemies, warping his mouth into a menacing grin, which prompted me to say... As much as you are an elite killing machine, you're also a doctor. Alright? We're gonna save this man's life, together. What? Are you serious?
You heard me. We can leave the first aid for later. First, we must see to it that our enemies are...
No, you're wrong! His eyes are like, what? Killing people should only serve as a means to protect the people you care about. I felt my throat tighten in soreness as I shouted. I took myself by surprise, never having thought myself capable of yelling as loudly as I did. No matter how many men you slay, if you aren't able to keep your allies safe, then it's all for nothing. Yamazaki, what are you fighting for? That's right. That's right. Remind him of who he is. Tears filled my puffy eyes by the time I finished. In the past, Yamazaki had always been the first person to express concern for his injured comrades. Where before my heart was moved by how sensitive and caring Yamazaki had been, I found myself perplexed by his current state of mind. It shattered me to think he was losing touch with himself, so I needed to get through to him.
Me? What am I fighting for?
Yamazaki's eyes dropped down to his blood-stained hands, and slowly the madness within them dissipated. The moment was ultimately short-lived, however.
There he is! Found the culprit! Fire at will!
damn it! Step back, Yukimura!
I flinched as I saw Yamazaki pounce back into the group of Imperial soldiers. Eerie sounds of bone snapping followed soon after, causing me to grimace. His uniform was drenched in fresh blood, making me realize nothing I said could ever get through to him. As he promised, however, Yamazaki made quick work out of the Imperials. In spite of my best efforts, the wounded Shinsengumi warrior succumbed to his wounds, and I saw the glimmer of light leave his scared, tender eyes. As I lifted my head, I couldn't help but gasp, catching sight of the gruesome mountain of human remains scattered along the dirt. The one who was responsible was a fury, huffing in a damp coat of blood. Oh boy. Yamazaki, no! Put your mask back over your nose so you don't smell the blood so much. He had thrown his mask from off his face, his lips curling into a wry, satisfied smile. In no way had Yamazaki seemed disturbed by his actions. On the contrary, he was taking great pleasure. Yamazaki, they're all...
No. Some of them are still breathing.
Stop it!
Yukimura, why do you insist on getting in my way? They are our enemies. Enemies of the Shinsengumi.
Yes, but I've also spent almost 4 years in the company of the Shinsengumi. All might be fair in war, I'll give you that. Sometimes we are driven to extremes that we never saw ourselves capable of achieving. That I am keenly aware of. But to show no mercy as you slaughter helpless men, that's just...
There can be no half measures. If we spare them now, there's no telling if or when they could reappear to harm us another day.
But...
Shut up!
Oh. Wow, this is taking an interesting turn. It makes sense, because Yamazaki was always bothered by his lack of, not ability, but like he wasn't as good as other men in the Shinsengumi, and it bothered him a lot. He felt weak. Now that he's become a fury, he's much more powerful. I mean, he just slew a whole bunch of men. And he's going mad because of being a fury. This is really interesting. Will love win over power? Hopefully, we get the good ending.
If you interrupt me again, I will kill you.
I was petrified, feeling Yamazaki tap the underside of my chin with his cold sword, still dripping with the blood of those he had slain only minutes earlier. The air thickened like mist with the blood's foul, rust-like odor, which only seemed to worsen Yamazaki's pronounced lack of compassion.
Thirsty. I'm thirsty! I want to poke through their soft, supple skin and satisfy my cravings with that delicious scarlet liquid. So stay out of my way!
Something sinister lurked behind his ravenous eyes. It was animalistic, like his instincts were focused on nothing aside from finding prey upon which to feed. Yamazaki, the one I knew and adored, was slipping away from me.
Or, Yukimura, would you rather I feast upon you instead? To sample the sweet, saccharine taste of your blood.
I mean, you knew I was into it before, man. You don't gotta threaten me with the sword or nothing. I could bear it no longer! Case in point. With gritted teeth, I grabbed a hold of his katana's blade, and I slid the sharp edge against my hand. Ah! An audible gulp squeaked from Yamazaki's eager mouth.
Oh, blood, blood.
Without a second of hesitation, he tugged my arm closer towards him and wrapped his mouth around the open wound on my hand. His tongue flicked in and out of my cut, painfully digging it deeper underneath the skin. But with my blood, Yamazaki's suffering would ease, and that was enough for me to persevere. I took solace knowing I could help him keep sane, stay sane. Rather than descend into depravity by taking the lives of others, he could sip and consume my blood. Something frightened me. It was almost as though I enjoyed the idea of being used. That somehow, if it were Yamazaki doing the deed, I felt more special. Well, at least you're doing some inner reflection this route, girl. Good job. After it felt as though an eternity had passed, because the sun was still up when that all went down. At last, Yamazaki began to resemble himself again, letting the sword fall from his hands before speaking.
I kept on fooling myself into thinking that I would never let bloodlust affect me, that I would never bring harm to you. But look at what I've done. I can do nothing to restrain my bloodlust. It intoxicates me in battle, smothers my senses. I am finally beginning to see the wisdom in what Kazuma had been getting at. As he foretold, I am slowly morphing into a beast, one that cannot live under sunlight, one that must drink blood. My life as a human is ending. So, this is the true curse of the Fury. I will become nothing more than a shell of myself.
My heart broke for Yamazaki, whose forlorn eyes dropped listlessly. In order to comfort him, I said, man, we're getting like all the choices back to back. He's not human. But just because you've gone through some changes doesn't mean you have to lose yourself as a person, man. Yes, like it or not, you're a Fury now. When you're hurt, your flesh will heal. You've become a white-haired creature with a taste for human blood. But you must understand. You and I aren't much different. My body regenerates itself too. I also cannot afford to live a normal human life, whatever that means. We're not so different, you and I. Well, I had no desire to drink human blood, but I meant every word that I said, and with a smile I took Yamazaki's hand and pressed it gently against my cheeks.
What are you doing?
The softness and warmth in your palm. Whether you're human, or a Fury, or if I'm a demon, nothing can change that. Yamazaki's mouth was agape, and his eyes stared at the ground, speechless. I decided to give him a moment of reprieve. In this moment, perhaps he hadn't needed words of comfort. Instead, I glanced at the darkening sky, collecting my erstwhile thoughts. Had Kondo been able to escape safely? Saito, Harada, Nagakura, Shimada. All of the men who were willing to give their lives so that we could protect Kondo. Were they alive? Yamazaki, let's go. We need to rendezvous with the rest of the Shinsengumi men.
Right.
We picked ourselves back up, dragging our heavy feet through sanguinary muck, when all of a sudden... It's the boys! Chikage, you're late to the uniform change game. This is interesting. I think this is the first time in this game that we have seen Chikage not in his new outfit. I wonder if there's any significance to that.
It's... The two of you have certainly seen better days, haven't you? Looking more like a demon every day.
Large trees shook as two figures strolled towards us from the shadows with paralyzing stares in their eyes. I was swept with deja vu, being taken back to the day that Yamazaki had consumed the water of life.
Nothing more hapless comes to mind than crossing paths with the pair of you today. Why are you here? Have you come to watch the battle in Kofu?
No. Believe it or not, today we do not meet as enemies. I did, however, watch how swiftly you dispatched those men earlier.
Yamazaki, was it? It appears that I misjudged you. If you've not got the stomach to resist those unflattering temptations of yours, then I pity you.
It was Kazuma! Well spotted. Kazuma unsheathed his sword, spreading his feet into a stance before Yamazaki responded in kind. I cupped my hand over my mouth, fearing that Yamazaki stood no chance against them alone. It was up to me to find a way to stall them. Just the thought crossed my mind. Amagiri outstretched his muscular arm, halting the two warriors from crossing blades. I'm like, yeah, didn't Amagiri just say we're not here as enemies?
Feeling a little sensitive, are we, Kazuma? Do you want to kill him here and now?
Please, pay me no heed. Yukimura is one thing, but this man's life is of no concern to me.
Have you forgotten our purpose here?
He's putting his sword away?
What the hell are you playing at? Come at me! I don't care which one of you goes first.
Very well, then. I shall take you up on your offer. Then I'll deal with you, girl. Feel free to make the first move. SUSUMU Yamazaki of the Shinsengumi's illustrious watch.
You'll regret this, Kyuju Amagiri!
Victory went to the warrior who struck first. Without breaking a sweat, Yamazaki chopped his kunai forward, which Amagiri effortlessly deflected. A stick-type throwing weapon often employed by ninja. Before Amagiri could catch his breath, however, Yamazaki had already bolted inches in front of him.
Not bad for a human, but you'll have to do better than that.
Yamazaki aimed a flurry of blows at Amagiri, trying to strike his opponent's vital points without much success as Amagiri parried every attack. Amagiri anticipated the path of every swing and was adept enough to block the sword with his bare hands. He was no stranger to the Shinsengumi, having beaten Saito and Heisuke in the past, which made him one of their most formidable enemies.
Not too bad. We could be here all day if it keeps up like this. So...
Uh-oh. Yamazaki, I don't want to see that look on your face, man. It's terrifying.
Oh!
Yamazaki bent forward, prepping himself to lunge before his pupils flared in dilation. He kicked at the floor, disappearing into thin air. It was impossible for me to track his superhuman movements with the naked eye. All I could follow was the whistle of the wind against the tree branches he'd fluttered upon.
Too late!
Yamazaki showed no signs of faltering, smacking the blunt edge of his blade forcefully against Amagiri's shoulder. Nicely done! Not many people are able to do that, fury or no.
Oh my. Landing a blow on Amagiri is no mean feat. Your speed has improved considerably.
Just what I was saying, boo.
And here I was, thinking I defended myself well. Took me by surprise, this one.
All of us were in shock watching Yamazaki put pressure on Amagiri as aggressively as he did. I wonder if he wouldn't have done as well if he hadn't drank our blood. Be interesting to find out in one of the bad endings. As Amagiri's fist cut through the air like a hawk, Yamazaki responded with a well-timed slash across the former's ribcage. As Kazuma had suggested in the past, however, his heightened speed was a double-edged blade. To compensate for the enormous toll his powers were taking on his body, Yamazaki's lifespan actually diminished with each instance. Did we know that? Did we find that out in Kyoto Winds? I didn't think we had. We definitely haven't come across that yet in this route. I'm like, how does she know? A typical human foot would have likely been ripped apart by the sheer velocity of Yamazaki's movements, but this did nothing to faze him. I never thought about that, all the hopping around. Kick. Really, Kazuma? You're a kick. He's enjoying this too much. Oh, this is funny.
Something the matter, Amagiri. Your pathetic showing is starting to nauseate me. Why don't you bend the knee to me so that I may take pity upon you and save you from further shame?
That's not funny, Kazuma.
It's kind of funny. Amagiri wiped his bloody lips with the back of his palm, quickly raising his guard again as he got into stance.
So, you finally started to embrace becoming a Fury. Everything's coming together as to why you were able to dispatch those men so quickly.
Of course. At my current state, men like them are nothing.
You have me mistaken, boy. That was no compliment. Far from it. In fact, I lament the fact that you take pride in having needed these powers to kill them yourself.
Cuts him again. Once more, Yamazaki put the full weight of his body behind his attack, but Amagiri hadn't even flinched. He remained completely still, speaking in an icy tone of voice as he continued.
Besides, do you have any clue what the consequences for utilizing your powers are?
That much we know. Every Fury eventually develops a craving for blood.
Before you rudely interrupt me again, that is not what I had intended on referencing.
Did Chizuru inadvertently think about the fact that the lifespan diminishes before getting the revelation? Because that's funny if that's true.
Furies may possess extraordinary strength, speed, and regenerative capabilities, but they are potent concentrations of what humans are already capable of. For example, when your body heals itself from a particularly nasty wound, what normally takes months to heal now only takes seconds. However, what do you think the cost of harnessing those abilities is, especially when it is performed on a regular basis to your meek, fragile human body?
As Amagiri expanded on his point, anxiety began festering in the pit of my stomach. I wanted to cover my ears. I couldn't bear to hear what he'd been getting at. All of my fears were becoming realized, but Amagiri insisted on revealing the harsh, terrifying truth.
That's right. Each time you activate your powers, you deplete days, weeks, months from your total lifespan. As logic dictates, the more times you use it, the more your lifespan depletes. In the end, you'll turn to ash.
What? No!
Enough! I don't believe a word you're saying. How do we know you aren't spewing some lie just so that I don't use my powers around you? I bet it's a trap.
Don't believe me, huh? Allow me to put my theory to the test, then. If I can defeat you, even with your miserable powers, then it's proof alone that I have no need to waste your time with something as stupid as a trap.
Yamazaki dashed away at light speed, leaving behind the ominous glow of his rage-filled eyes. A sense of urgency fueled his movements, but it was nefarious, akin to panic more than determination. My eyes darted towards Amagiri, whose body was engulfed in a whirlwind of steel. I got him. Blood cascaded like floating lilies from the demon's body, as Yamazaki's flurry of slashes cut almost every part of him, save for his face and neck. Ooh. Suddenly, Amagiri's hair turned stark white. And then...
Got you!
The tip of Yamazaki's katana was pointed directly at Amagiri's heart. His opportunity to strike was cut short, however.
No, I've got you.
God. Oh!
With a slight flick of his wrist, Amagiri disarmed Yamazaki, knocking him on his back. What? How? How could he see it coming?
No matter how fast you are, the cat always catches the mouse. You are nothing compared to a demon, try as you might.
Amagiri approached Yamazaki slowly as he writhed helplessly on the ground. Don't you dare touch him!
Whoops.
No. I aimed my kodachi at Amagiri, sidling carefully towards Yamazaki before helping him stand. Nice job, Chizuru. Are you okay?
Oh. God.
Cheap sleights of hand are no substitute for actual skill. Eventually, someone will discover your secret. Take a gander at his body, if you will. His recovery will take some time.
The longer I looked, the more I winced. Blood streamed from the gashes covering Yamazaki's mangled legs, exposing the muscles and tendons underneath his flesh. It was clear, though, that he hadn't sustained the wounds simply from Amagiri. They were a result of overexertion from his use of fury powers. I think I remember that happening at the end of his route in Kyoto Winds as well. He, really overdid it. Yamazaki! I wrapped my arms around his blood-soaked body, muttering his name under my breath.
The taste of blood has driven you mad. Soon you will no longer tell friend from foe, and it will kill you. As you can see, furies are an abomination, and they deserve to be expelled from this cursed world.
I had no rebuttal. Yamazaki and Heisuke fought their hardest to retain their humanity, but every other fury eventually descended into depravity, so they were clearly the exceptions to the rule. Wow, thanks for leaving out Sanan. In this bitter war, they were being wielded as pawns, agents of destruction pitted against one another. If ever we were able to maintain a period of peace, however, and the war comes to a screeching halt, what purpose would these beings have? Would there even be a place for them?
I'd hate to be the bearer of bad news, especially in a time like this, but your father, Kodo Yukimura, is attempting to spread this affliction with the rest of the country, and poison anyone unlucky enough to cross his path.
What? My father?
The very same. If Kodo succeeds, then half of the total population of humans will succumb to the curse. And the remaining half, well, let's just say the monsters will have to find something to eat. Even with the blessing of demon lineage in his veins, he focuses his energy on propagating fakes. Speaking as the lord of a demon clan, I find the very thought reprehensible.
Even during my extended stay with the Shinsengumi, obtaining any information about Father was next to impossible. Kazuma and Amagiri were the last people from whom I had expected to learn any sort of update.
As we speak, he is working on currying favor with some of the upper-level brass for the Imperials, and has made himself untouchable as a political asset. It seems we and the Shinsengumi now share a common goal: killing that man at any cost.
So, your goal is asking the Shinsengumi whether or not they want to wage war against my father's legion of Fury soldiers?
The Shinsengumi are nothing more than overlooked footnotes in the annals of history. As such, they should bear no qualms absolving themselves of the sins they knowingly committed.
Kazuma smiled wryly before turning his back to us. Before Kazuma could walk away, however, an enraged voice called out to him, prompting him to stop. Oh damn! Yamazaki getting emotional.
Fuck that!
Yamazaki barked, dusting his shoulders as he rose. He spat out a mouthful of blood and stuck his sword into the ground to support his weight.
Footnotes, you called us? Just where the hell do you get off, huh? Nothing's over here! The Shinsengumi isn't going anywhere! So long as there's a hand to hold it, our swords will never stop swinging.
I wasn't trying to get a rise out of you, so calm down. Try as it might, the Shinsengumi hasn't much time left. Fate is cruel, kid, but I'm just a messenger. If you'd like, we can ditch pleasantries and talk man to man. The Shinsengumi stand no chance here, and you know what they say. History is written by the victors.
Yamazaki and I gasped, uncomfortable with a truth neither of us had ever been willing to admit. Lose? Amagiri's startling admission shook me. On the other hand, Yamazaki nodded silently.
Of that, I am well aware. I've known all of this for some time, but we don't require either of you to remind us about the state of the Shinsengumi, or its men. More than anything, it's just a bigger reason for us to give it our all until we draw our very last breath. I've told you before, and I'll tell you again. I've seen the darkness. It's a part of me, and I'm ready.
You think you have what it takes to kill Kodo? By yourself? His army of furies numbers in the dozens, kid. A paltry sum for us, but for you, well...
He's not alone! He's got me too! If my father's responsible for this madness, then as his daughter, it's my duty to see that he's stopped.
Have you any clue what you're getting yourself into, girl? Ridding the world of the Furies means killing Kodo Yukimura. Do you have it within you to murder your own father?
Well...
I'll do it. But I still don't trust either of you. There is still a chance for the two of you to deceive us. But, should we be confronted with the choice, and our lives are on the line, I will see it through. Wise answer. Well, either way, the end result is of little consequence to us.
Kodo is currently collaborating with the Imperial Army to increase his vital mass of furies. It is only a matter of time until he unleashes them in battle, which I expect is soon approaching.
So, wherever the Shinsengumi moves to next, that's where he plans on unveiling them.
Correct. May luck ever be in your favor.
With that, the two demons melted into the fog. Just as quickly as they appeared, they vanished, and I scanned the whole area to ensure they were gone. Was it just a dream? An ominous premonition? No, it wasn't. Looking at Yamazaki's, tattered body and the soreness in my fingers, I gathered that all of it was very, very real. If what Kazuma and Amagiri said were true, then my reunion with father would be soon, but I wasn't sure if it would involve the intimate welcome that I was wishing for. Yeah, about that. Probably not. Alright, I figured that was the end of chapter 2. That was a lot, man. Ay, ay, ay.